Norman Rockwell, American illustrator, 1940s New York City, painted of an idealized America. Edward Hopper, American painter, 1940s New York City, painted of a discontented American people. Different painters, but what they have in common is that their works are still relatable to the youth of today. In the bedroom of 11th grader Commerce Fisk, both works of Hopper and Rockwell can be found, proof of the lasting impact these artists have had on America. Norman Rockwell is regarded as one of the great American artists in the mid-20th century. His works were praised as a symbol of purity and the ideal America, but he also has his critics who believe that he was less like an artist and more like an advertiser. Rockwell was born and raised in New York City and quickly found his love for drawing, transferring to Chase Art School at the age of 14. After then going to the National Academy of Design and the Art Students League, he was hired in 1913 at the young age of 19 to become the art editor of Boy's Life, a magazine targeted for the Boy Scouts of America. 2 years later, Rockwell began creating covers for the Saturday Evening Post, one of America's most popular magazines from the 1920s through the 1960s. Their partnership lasted 47 years, and in the minds of many people, the Saturday Evening Post and Norman Rockwell are synonymous with one another. Americans who lived through the rapid growth and change of the 20th century viewed the Rockwell covers as an identifiable and comfortable image of their life in the United States. In 1943, after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and inspired by President Franklin Roosevelt's address to Congress, Rockwell created the Four Freedoms paintings. These paintings were reproduced in 4 consecutive issues of the Saturday Evening Post, alongside essays written by contemporary writers highlighting the values of the painting. Rockwell's interpretations of freedom of speech, freedom to worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear proved to be enormously popular. The works toured the United States in an exhibition that was jointly sponsored by the Post and the U.S. Treasury Department, and, through the sale of war bonds, raised more than $130 million for the war effort. Rockwell's artwork is a representation of the sanitized culture of United States society in the 1940s and 50s. Many in the art world during and after his time believe that he and his art represent everything wrong with America by promoting commercialism through his magazine illustrations and making pieces of propaganda about American life. His art was also criticized for lacking depth when compared to artworks from the modern art movement, which had gained prominence in the 1940s and 1950s. Edward Hopper began his career similarly to Rockwell, as a paid illustrator in New York City. After only 1 year in the profession, Hopper quit and decided to start painting for himself. He quit because he hated illustrating, feeling it was too commercialized and that it wasn't a true expression of art. Hopper's paintings show a different America than that of Norman Rockwell. If Rockwell highlighted the good, Hopper highlighted, well, not the bad, but more of an alternative reaction to the so-called good. Hopper's paintings elicit a sense of melancholy, similar to that described in the 1922 novel Babbitt. Babbitt was written about a man who lived in suburban America who had everything a man at that time could want. He had a nice family, lived in a nice house with a spacious yard, had a nice car, and all the new technology he could ask for. Behind all of the materials he owned, he wasn't happy. Although he had achieved this American dream, so often depicted to be perfect by Norman Rockwell, happiness evaded him. Hopper's paintings highlight a similar disillusionment with the American dream. In one of his works, titled Automat, we see a woman in a cafe drinking coffee. At the time, cafes were typically very social places where people could meet friends or strangers and have conversations over food and drink. This woman here is sitting alone. She has everything she needs to have a good time, but she seems sad, and we don't really know why. Sounds like Babbitt, doesn't it? Another work of Hopper's, titled Nighthawks, is arguably his most popular work. It shows people sitting at a diner at nighttime. This painting is different than his others because it does not show a single isolated person, but actually contains four whole people. Unfortunately, the people in the painting are not interacting. The three customers seem lonely, and although they are all sitting together in a place where people would normally find conversation and belonging, they seem to have no connection to each other. They feel disconnected, as if they are far away from each other, which is why the viewer is also so far from the people. That's how Hopper makes us feel far away, too. We feel like we are really outside of the painting. Hopper often keeps the viewer's perspective far, as seen also in works like New York Office and Office in a Small City. When comparing these to a Rockwell illustration, you can see how far away you feel from Hopper's, while when looking at Rockwell's, you feel as if you are in the illustration, right alongside the characters. Both of these painters were strongly influenced by the America that they saw around them. Their perspectives and artistic skills paved the way for some incredibly impactful works that remain relatable to this day. Even though they worked at the same time, their paintings and perspectives of America were vastly different. This fact can help us answer a question both artists often used to inspire their works of art. What is America? Is it this perfect land of opportunity where people can achieve a stable life with access to as much technology as they want and celebrate their freedom? Or is it a place oversaturated by consumerism, where we might be able to reach for the stars financially, but miss out on the personal connection to human spirit that makes life worth living? Or is it both? Can it be all of these things? These artworks show that even during a time of great conformity and stability in our country, America can be extremely different for one person than it is for another. Even Rockwell and Hopper occasionally reach outside of their typical source material. Rockwell's The Problem We All Live With expresses a dark side of America that is unwilling to change and accept, even in the protection of our founding values. Hopper's work, People in the Sun, shows a group of people sitting in folding chairs enjoying bright rays on a sunny day. People seeming even slightly happy is very out of character for a Hopper painting. These differences demonstrate that what America is entirely depends on who you're asking, as each person has seen a different version of America, just like Norman Rockwell and Edward Hopper.